Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another session of Peeking Over the Fence. I'm your host today, Richard Landy. Welcome, and this is for financial advisors and their teams who might be considering the next transition and opportunity. Today, I have a wonderful friend and guest to speak with us today on our podcast, and it's Eric Lyon. Eric is the owner of Wealth Empowerment Financial Strategies firm. Gosh, Eric and I have known each other for just a little over 8 years. I started helping to recruit some advisors to the firm he had built at the time, which we'll get into here momentarily. And then after several years, he and I just recently started working with each other as he decided to make a change about 2 years ago and transition to a new firm. So I asked Eric to come join me here today to talk about some of those experiences, not to mention the business that he's built and the success that he and his team are now having. And if you'd like to reach out to Eric later, he'll have all his contact information here in front of you. But before I just do that, let me introduce Eric. Eric, how are you today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, Rich.
We're so happy you are here today. Eric has got about 34 years in our industry and career, just an extensive experience, great individual, great leader for his firm. When we originally met, the business was doing below $1 billion. And about 2 years ago, we got together when he decided to peek over the fence and see what else might be in the marketplace. Was doing 1.4 billion at that time. And today I think you're up over 1.7 billion. Is that right, Eric?
That's right. Yep.
Oh, that's just phenomenal growth. And we go back far enough for those that are watching here today. First Union, if you might remember that bank and securities firm in Wachovia. Well, that's where he was originally until that changed and he ended up at National Securities Corporation back in 2004. Then they were acquired in 2022 by B. Riley. And for those who know B. Riley, they also just made a change recently. And so with that B. Riley relationship, which was very strong with Eric and the team and still is today, he decided to transition over to Kestra Financial back in 2024. We'll talk about that just a little bit. What I'd like to do here today is have Eric talk about one or two experiences for you as financial advisors watching this that he experienced going through that transition piece, leaping from, and I should say, the pinnacle of leaving the wirehouse over to the independent side. So, Eric, if you don't mind, just sharing one or two experiences that you think are very important for people viewing today.
Sure. Experience-wise, I would say, due diligence, number one. I met with a lot of different firms before I made the transition to Kestra, and
Correct.
I kicked the tires. I spoke with a lot of the firms. They were in my office, a lot of Zoom meetings, of course, at the time. Then I narrowed it down to a couple, and then I came down to the home office visit, and that was kind of what sealed the deal for me. And then secondly, I would say procrastinating. Once things start to go sour, I'll say, at your current firm, you wait because everybody hates the thought of moving, right? Nobody in this business likes the thought of moving. It's a big task, but once you rip the Band-Aid off, you get there, and the common response is with every advisor that I brought here is, I can't believe I didn't do this sooner.
I hear that all the time, and especially we talked about it many times because you have multiple financial advisors that you were caring for, 20 plus at the time. And then the idea of clients and the clients moving with you. Can you talk a little bit around that and prepping or expectation around clients?
Yeah, sure. The bigger issue was probably back in 2004 when I transitioned from First Union to National, where I went from, a household name bank to no independent firm like National Securities. And I fear, like everybody else, is I was going to lose clients along the way. And once I made the transition, I found that more than 95% of my clients transitioned with me, which was a huge relief. And the one thing that I learned from that, and I think everybody learns, is that the relationship is with you and the client. It's not with the client and the firm that you're with. So it's really, don't be afraid of that you're going to lose clients, because the clients trust in you because you've got the years-long relationship with them.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that's one of the most important factors, and of course, an honest fear for financial advisors is losing clients. But for you and your team, and especially in this most recent transition, what were the expectation around clients and how many clients actually moved with you?
Yeah, no, again, moving from B. Riley to Kestra, the expectations were pretty good because we had the relationships with the clients and we were independent. The nice thing about being on the independent side, at least with most firms, is you have in your contract, the broker dealer that you're coming from doesn't contact your clients, So that made the transition even easier. Transition from independent to independent is a lot easier than transitioning from wirehouse or a captive broker dealer to an independent.
Oh, well said. Thank you for sharing. Going to pivot just a little bit. Let's talk about wealth empowerment and your inception story. So in 2007, you were visualizing growing to being a bigger firm. Can you talk a little bit around the emphasis behind wealth empowerment?
Sure. So, I felt like there was a niche out there that we could capitalize on, and that's kind of the middle market where there's a lot of
Right.
advisors out there that are doing 300,000, 400,000, up to $700,000 or $800,000 in production. Again, not to pick on the wirehouses, but at a wirehouse, you're probably still in the 30% payout when you're doing those kind of numbers.
Sadly.
However, to go completely independent and get a 90% payout is difficult because you do have a fair amount of expenses, the oversight, the technology, cybersecurity, everything that you have to worry about. So what we did is we created a firm where we can bring those type of advisors, those size advisors doing, let's say, $300,000 to $800,000 in production, bring them over here, give them the full support that they're going to get at a wirehouse, and hopefully even better, give them a much higher payout, no haircuts on products. And we basically pay the vast majority of the expenses, and they're still in here at a very high payout, and they feel like they're working at a wirehouse, but at an independent payout structure.
Let's talk about that just a little bit more because I think that's a key factor here. We call it turnkey full service, right?
Mhm.
So if you're at a wirehouse, a Merrill, a Morgan, that is what they call turnkey full service. Tell us about your turnkey full service that you offer at your firm and what the payout may look like, just a range.
Sure. No, I mean, we start the payouts at 75% and they go up from there. Okay. So the low
Wow.
end is 75%. And as far as the turnkey, though, our staff, they're paid on our growth as we grow, their salaries grow. So they're all in. And my staff has been working with me. I think, well, we did just hire a new person last year, but prior to that, they've all been with me anywhere from 9 to 22 years now, I think.
That's
So
amazing.
they're fully committed, and they basically take all the administrative work off your desk. Our objective is to give the advisor that white glove service where the advisor can spend their time being on the phone, talking with the clients, meeting with clients, managing portfolios, and have our staff, our team, do all the administrative work for them. And ideally, the advisors never touch a piece of paper.
And that would also include facilities, right? If you wanted an
Yep.
office, you provide
Yeah,
office space.
absolutely. We've got a beautiful office space overlooking the Intercoastal here in Boca Raton. We have 4 other locations. We've got a 3-person office in Lafayette, Louisiana, a 1-person shop in Houston, Texas, one in Orlando, and one in St. Petersburg. But again, everybody has the ability to work remotely, work in an office on their own if they want to, or we will always have office space for them here in our Boca Raton headquarters.
Let's stay on the same theme right now. So your practice, if I remember, you told me you're at about 1.7 billion in revenue. Is that
Well,
correct?
assets.
My
Yeah.
apologies. I was thinking
I wish.
that's right. But when we got together just 2 years ago, when you made your transition, you were just about 1.4 billion in assets.
Mhm.
You've jumped up to 1.7 billion. So tell us about that growing organically. What's going on at your firm at Wealth Empowerment?
Yeah, so we've actually hired one particular person who's an insurance coordinator, right?
That's right.
Me, for one, I don't like doing insurance. It is very time consuming. A lot of it I just don't have the patience for. So this guy has been in the insurance world for 20 plus years. And if I get an insurance case or any of our advisors get an insurance case, we give it to him. He'll take it from start to finish. It does not come out of the advisor's payout. We pay him to do everything, and he's spectacular. They're in the process of closing a very, very large case in Miami right now, of which, the
Wow.
advisor referred the person to our insurance coordinator, and he's been working on this for several months. And the lady finally, signed all the documents and everything just yesterday. So that should be done. We've got a great relationship with a third-party administrator for defined benefit plans, cash balance plans, 401k plans. So we've got an advisor in-house that specializes in that. So again, talking about me personally, I'm not as up to speed with defined benefit plans as he is. So if I have a case I'm working on, he's more than happy to get on the phone with the client, walk me through it, whatever it needs to be. We've just got a really, really good camaraderie within our office. Even though we're independent, we share ideas, we help each other, and we all grow together.
That's fantastic. And by the way, for the viewers don't know this, I'm about 15 minutes away from Eric's office location. So I've seen this firsthand. I do know his staff. I do see the camaraderie within that branch location. Not to mention the annual holiday party is a wonderful time, a wonderful treat for all the spouses and families. Eric does such a great job. Eric, if I were an advisor and I was thinking about plugging into you, and or maybe I was looking to find a buyer of my practice, I know you're in the business and so is Kestra. Can you talk a little about you helping advisors to either transition in or to acquire a practice?
Yeah, no, without a doubt, the transition part, obviously, I feel like we've kind of mastered that. We've got a checklist, so we don't leave any stones unturned. We will definitely,
Right.
help that advisor from start to finish and make the transition as simple as possible. I really do believe that that's our specialty. We exceed expectations when it comes to helping with transition. And then when it comes to acquiring practices, I mean, listen, it's no secret that there are a number of advisors that are, less than 10 years, even less than 5 years out from retirement. And I, for one, would encourage those people to consider make a move, right? Get settled a little bit so you get paid a transition amount, and then we'll pay you a as you
Yeah.
sunset into retirement as well. So you get paid twice.
Yeah. Two bites at the apple, as we say,
Right,
right?
right.
Well, listen, we really appreciate your insight. Again, I respect you tremendously with 34 years in this career, great experience. If there was any last thoughts as we close out this session today that you could share with the viewers, whether an advisor's thinking about making a change, maybe frustrated where they are, outgrown their firm, maybe they're in the middle of a transition, or even thinking about succeeding out in two or three, what would be one factor or one experience that you'd like to share with everybody before we leave today?
Yeah, the main thing, as I said a little bit before, is that it's the relationship with the customer.
Right.
Everybody's fear is you're going to lose clients during a transition. It's not necessarily the case. Will you have a couple of stragglers? Of course, everybody does, but you're going to bring most of your clients with you. Don't let that fear stop you from making a move. You make that move, you almost like a fresh start, you get rejuvenated, and all of a sudden
Yes.
growth accelerates because of that, rejuvenation. So don't hesitate, don't delay peeking over the fence.
I appreciate you saying it that way. And again, I'm the one that's in the fire. I get to see this multiple times a year when the advisors finally make that transition and they get through to the other side. The happiness, the energy level changes, the attitude changes. It's just a great vibe. So I appreciate you again very much, Eric, for joining us today and sharing your experiences with us. And to the viewers, again, we appreciate you watching here today. If you'd like to learn more or would like to talk to Eric about his own experiences or about his own firm, his contact information is going to be listed here at the end. And my parting words to you, Eric, I appreciate you very, very much. And you know how proud I am of you and the success and the ongoing success you will continue to have. Any last words for the viewer?
No, just thanks for having me, Rich.
Thank you, Eric. And thank you to the viewers. This will be up and running here in just a couple of days. We appreciate you being here with us today. And Eric, we appreciate you. Have a good afternoon, everybody.